Have you ever felt like you're being seen as the thing that you're trying to be, and the trying being the main part of that, versus who you are and the worth and value that comes from where you are right now? This could be in marketing, in life, in business. If that's the case, then you're going to want to stick around, because we have Anna here today, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself, why this topic matters to her, and why it should matter to you. Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so thrilled to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Um, I will try to do a quick abridged Cliff Notes intro slash answer your question. I'm the founder of Wandering Roots. I host adventure retreats for women all over the world, and I also help other entrepreneurs plan and host their own retreats. And I used to be a lab manager in a small molecular diagnostics lab, and I had this kind of I wouldn't say freak accident. I mean, you create everything you think. So, anyways, I was in several car accidents when I was a kid, and when I was 28, I had to have neck surgery to remove the fifth vertebrae in my cervical spine, and the two adjoining discs. And I had 4 months in a neck brace, and in that time, I found yoga because I was dealing with some major chronic pain rehab and was like trying to not live my life as a chronic pain candidate. And then also, I was wildly aware with that much space because I was on disability for 4 months. It's probably the first time I ever paused in my entire life. I I realized how I wasn't jazzed about my career at all, and I didn't want any part of it, even though I had achieved quite a bit of success. And so, anyways, over the course of the next kind of 5 to 7 years, I started reinventing my life and my career, and I found yoga to be deeply one healing physically and mentally. It connected me to a lot of incredible humans, and I ended up going to get my yoga certification to be a teacher. And it was the first time I'd ever been in a space. I was there with 11 other women, strangers, and they were all just supporting each other for their highest, loving and accepting each other for who they were and not who they were trying to be. And I felt like I was sort of lived in these roles and these responsibilities and these containers, and never had even considered like even what I wanted. Like that was such a foreign concept to me before that. And so I eventually thought I would combine my love of travel and then trying to create that same type of environment for other humans to experience, heal, whatever they need at that moment on retreats. And so I just hosted one, and then I've now hosted 22. My first one was in 2018, and I've been doing it for 6 years now.
I feel like that's the classic. I hosted one and I was hooked.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also like just a like honestly, in my opinion, a lesson of just giving it a try. I had no idea what I was doing. And I learned a lot in the first one and second one. I think I learned like just so much and kind of changed and pivoted and molded the way I did it. It's not that I don't learn something from every single one, but I learned probably the most in the first two. And it's just the difference between being a beginner and not a beginner, right? Just keep doing it.
Absolutely.
So
I think that speaks wonders to almost anything that you're doing in life, right? Like, I mean, we've got a lot of people who join us who are brand new to the entrepreneurial space, and those who are well seasoned. And it's important to recognize that with each evolution comes its own challenges, its own learning opportunities. But that sometimes those first few steps can be the ones that catch your footing a little bit more
yeah,
more
the
than
hardest.
others.
I think
That's
they're the
right.
hardest. Like
Yeah,
just the showing up part, the getting started,
absolutely.
the not the moving out of the overwhelm, the just taking the first step. It's hard.
Yeah, and
That's
realizing what is possible, I think, is a
totally.
really important part of those first few steps. Now, you said something earlier that I thought was really interesting, and it kind of goes back to that idea of the evolution that one goes through as an entrepreneur, as a woman, as just an entity, as a being, right? Um,
Mhm.
and you said you took the time. It was first of all, my heart just melts when you say that you thought it was the first time you had gotten the opportunity
Ugh.
to pause. And how many people can relate to that,
Yeah.
right?
I
That's heavy, man, oh man.
Yeah, my biggest limiting belief, and it probably will be for the rest of my life until I become enlightened, is I'm not enough, and that really pushes to just high performance, high functioning. And I mean, I worked full time when I was in college. I had a full semester every semester, and I worked 40, 50 hours. I like never slept. I was always sick.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it was. And honestly, even after that forced pause, I still didn't incorporate it daily for a while. It didn't really sink in that this was a way of life for a while.
Well, because it takes
Um,
habit.
ugh,
That was
yes.
an earth shaker, and that's important for starting the cracks to
Yep.
be formed in who you were then, so that you could
Yes.
then emerge out of that proverbial chrysalis into who you are now, and then to continue to
Totally.
evolve in that space.
Yeah. It's it's a cycle.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out of those learned trained cycles.
Well, and you also said that you were reinventing your life and your
Hmm.
career.
Hmm.
And when you said that, I first of all have an inclination for the rule of three, the artistic rule of three. So you said my life, my career, and I was like, and yourself,
Yeah.
your
Oh,
sense of
I would.
being.
Yes, my husband and I are still married. Thank God. We got married when I was 23. So I felt like I was having like a quarter life crisis. And I like after this huge awakening and this kind of like process of completely changing my life, I almost didn't recognize myself. I was a completely different person. And so, fortunately for us, we've both grown individually and sort of together as well. But there are lots of relationships that are, I no longer, they were that season of my life and they're no longer this season of my life. And different relationships have replaced those, or not necessarily replaced, but they've taken up that space, I guess. So
Yeah,
it's nuts.
it's and that's the whole point, right? Well, and that's where I want to ask you then about this idea of being seen for who you are and not who you're trying to be, because
Hmm.
there's something to be said about changing your sense of who you are in order to become who you want to be.
Yes.
Um, but I feel like that's a different discussion than who you're trying to be.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I think they're different things. I think when you evolve and you grow and you change, there's sort of this death, this grief of like mourning the life, the loss, the who you were. There's a lot of like, I guess with space and time and perspective, there's more love of like, because I think sometimes you can get caught up of like, God, why did it take me so long to just have these epiphanies or move on or live, more in alignment with who I am? And it's like, that's not who you were at that time. And also that version of yourself is who brought you to today. Like they're all very worthy versions of your path and your life. Um, and then the other part that you were saying, a lot of people wear masks or live in these sort of containers, their roles, their responsibilities, manager, employee, parent, whatever.
Mhm.
And that sometimes can just keep you sort of in honestly superficial conversation, not really deep, vulnerable connections, right?
Yes.
That's when you're trying to just wear this hat, be this role, and like whatever idealistic way you think that should look like, and not sharing anything real. So
Mhm.
everybody struggles with they're just being. Everybody struggles to be day in and day out, right? And I think that what I see a lot on retreats is it's often easier to open up to a stranger than somebody that has known you for your entire life, that sort of um, has put you in a box of some capacity.
Isn't that the truth, right?
Yeah,
And I have to admit that, especially in the case of retreats, like that's a beautiful space for you to open up as well, because everyone is there kind of for the purpose of giving and receiving, and
totally.
that's an energetic, like, I mean, I'm both woo and science, but even just looking at this from an energetic and neuroscience, neuropsychological point of view, like that's when you go into a space with that intention, you have that opportunity. It's kind of like, I find, I don't know if you experience this, but when I go anywhere, people talk to me. They
Yes.
always talk to me, and it's that energy because I genuinely come into the world from a place of giving and receiving. Just like I'm ready to receive that. I've
Hmm.
got two examples of this. In my university days, same as you know, working full time, putting myself through university, trying to make it ends meet while I'm, you know, having the soup and the
Yes.
cup in the bus on the way to school.
Yes.
And you're sitting there like,
Easy
okay,
Mac.
right, right,
Yeah.
that's it. Now, I had people come and talk to me all the time on the bus. It didn't matter if I had my big headphones on. They'd come to me. They tell me, I had a woman tell me about her son who was in jail.
Oh
I had
God.
a that was a great conversation. It was pretty heavy. Another gentleman tell
Yeah.
me about his how he would it was actually a really sad conversation. It was he would go to the local graveyard at 3 a.m. to visit his mother. Like,
Oh.
you know, it's that sort of energy. But and it's sad, but at the same time, it was a beautiful conversation because he was happy.
Yeah.
You know, it was his peace place. And so I like to create that space. And so you create that space within your retreats.
Hmm.
You create, and I was just talking to you about university just the other day. I was walking home from delivering my children to school, and this lovely 70-year-old woman was walking past, and she said she started up a conversation as we were crossing paths. And so I walked with her down the rest of the block, and I heard a lot of
Aw.
wonderful stories. And so it's just when you're able to enter into that space or create that space,
Hmm.
there's room for growth, and there's room for re-recognizing yourself. So,
Totally.
from that conversation and your experience in retreats, I'm curious about how you're seeing people kind of lift those masks, and kind of the difference between trying to be somebody and becoming the person who you already are. Kind of that journey. I know that sounds like brain gymnastics, but there's something to it.
Yeah, no, totally. I think I mean, we normally only spend a week together, so that's a relatively short period of time. But I will say that everybody shows up a little bit nervous about, making friends or if they don't know anybody or whatever. And in the first meal, we have everybody introduce themselves, and most everybody shares why they came. They recently got a divorce, they're empty nesters, and they finally wanted to do something for themselves, and they're all sharing their roles and responsibilities. But then we ask everybody to go around and list 3 things they love about themselves, and then you get to sort of see more like who they really are. Sometimes people have a very hard time doing it too, which is heartbreaking. But that first dinner, everybody connects and hangs out, and the it starts getting louder, and you start seeing people kind of connecting one on one and sharing deeper things, and then they have the rest of the week. And I think just having community and that everybody struggles with different things, and sometimes seeing yourself in somebody else's struggle, it's empowering. And to be seen sort of in that capacity is very empowering. But yeah, we've just been really lucky that people connect on a pretty deep level pretty quickly, and it makes for a really special experience. And we get to all just be. We get to have a lot of fun and be with each other and be in each other's company, but also like still make space for whatever comes up.
Make space for whatever comes. We're just doing. We're doing the thing. We're
Yeah,
showing up
yeah,
and doing the
yeah.
thing. It's definitely a vibe, and it's something that I think is really important when it comes to how you're showing up for yourself in life. And these are the descriptions that I'm hearing from you within these retreats. But in addition to hosting these intimate sounding retreats that really allow for people to grow on a personal scale, you're also a business owner. Right?
Yes.
You're also looking at how can I show up in my business to show people the wealth that comes with these experiences.
Yes.
And it's hard to quantify that, right? Without having these sorts of conversations. And that's where we start talking about, because I mean, this has been an amazing conversation for me because I love getting sticky right away. Like
Same.
you described, I love it. It makes me so happy. But then we're on a marketing show. Yay!
Yeah, yeah.
So people are wondering now, okay, so this was all really interesting, but what does that have to do with my marketing? Well, we know that
Oof.
Shauna believes you are never not marketing. And so in all
Yes.
of these retreats, when people are showing up and they're slowly chipping away at their masks, they're beginning to market themselves in a way that feels a lot more authentic to them, to their peers within the retreat, right? They're able to, instead of feeling like they have to consistently be wearing that mask or showing up as the mom or showing up as whatever it is that the label assigns them, they can just be them. And I feel that like when you're in that space, you can feel the tension release from your shoulders because you don't need to be like, oh, I gotta be ready. Oh, I gotta do this. Oh, what's somebody gonna ask of me? No, you're fine. Loosen up because you can.
Yeah.
And that transformation, in my humble opinion, needs to happen within all of your marketing. And when I say you, I mean the French vous, all of you. If your marketing feels like your shoulders are touching your ears,
Yes.
you need to take a minute and relinquish the mask that's holding it there so that you can show
Yeah.
up more authentically and just hang out with your peeps.
100%.
And it's a whole
Yeah.
different story. Now, you were saying that that's been a journey, just like your reinvention of life, career, and self. That's been a whole journey as well.
Yeah. Marketing is the thing that I have put the most energy in and had the least satisfaction. And also coming from corporate, it was just something I had to learn from the very, very bottom. And it's also not, as a scientist, it's not always repeatable, which drives me nuts sometimes, like data and results and things. It's just, it doesn't work that way. I think that one, you hit it on the head of like, if it doesn't feel good to you, it's not going to feel good when you're sharing it with other people. And then you're not going to convert the people that you do want to have as clients. You don't necessarily want to attract the wrong clients. I have a lot of conversations when I plan other people's retreats about what if no one comes? And I'm like, do you believe in stay in the zone where you're so passionate about the content you want to share? That's why you sought out me in the first place. That's why you started thinking about hosting. That's where the magic lives. That's where you speak from, in my opinion, in my experience. Anytime I was dragging my feet on one of my events or experiences, that's where I had a harder time pushing it or selling it. So you got to believe it. You got to be it. I agree with you.
Yeah, I love
And if you
that.
don't talk about yourself, no one else will, right? So you got to do it one way or the other. I remember when I started, I'm like, oh, I have a website. That's enough. Now I can shrink back and be a little bit hide, and I don't have to put myself out there, because it's also personal. Marketing is very personal if you're doing it right. And sometimes it's very hard to put yourself out there, especially when I never had to before that. I'd go on an interview, put myself out there in front of the internet and all the things. So
Yeah, it's a whole different ball game, while at the same time being played in the same field, right?
yes, yes, such a good metaphor.
Pardon
Yeah,
me. And that's it.
totally.
And so this idea of shedding that and showing up as only you can and leaning into the thing that makes you you. That's
Yeah.
the gold. Now I was actually surprised. I don't think I remembered talking to you about your career background, and that surprised me when you said about your scientific background. And that's
Yeah.
exciting, because for me, when I'm hearing you say about marketing that it's not always repeatable, and you're right, it isn't always repeatable. But oftentimes, if you measure the right things, then there are elements that are repeatable that you can combine to create a
Totally.
better result. And
That
so
is a
when
good
we're
point.
looking at that, you're going to have a better chance of knowing which elements you're measuring if
Mhm.
if you are being honest to yourself. If you've let that mask, if you're not just trying to be Sally Joe. I keep picking on Sally Joe in all of my shows, and poor Sally Joe, I'm sorry. But but if you're trying to show up as someone you're not, it's going to be
Yeah,
harder for you to know which metrics and which elements you need to be looking into in order to see the success, because you don't know what they
totally.
are, because they're not
Yeah,
true to you. They're not your back of your hand.
yeah,
There's
that's a good point.
You need to really harness that and trust that, and that's one of the hardest parts of doing it, is that trust.
Oof. Surrender, trust,
Mhm.
all of those things where we release control. I think any of those actions are hard, innately hard.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And now I've got so you've exploded my brain, and I want to I have all these ideas about the next questions that I want to ask you. However, we are reaching the end of our time.
Yes.
So, even though I do have a million questions in the back, is if there's a question that I haven't asked, and there are many, that you really want to answer, I'm going to give you the
Oof.
spotlight to do so. But I'm going to let you think about it for a minute. And in the meantime, I want everybody to know that conversations like this happen every single week, and I share them with you so that you can dive in, so that you can share in the journeys that other people are taking on, and that you can learn from them, apply the gold nuggets, because I I am I've been a marketer for years, and I learn something from every single one of these shows. So tune in, subscribe, catch the next one, and I'll leave the ball in your court. What is that thing that you're dying to share with the
Well,
world?
I don't know about dying to share, but I will say that I have podcasts are new to me, being a guest on them and stuff. And a question that I get asked frequently is, what would you tell a younger version or a previous version of yourself? And I always default to keep going. I think it's the difference between the people that do and the people that don't. And trying if you're in one of those sticky seasons where you're getting caught up about not being far enough, or like, I mean, I just turned 40, and so I have a lot of people in my sphere turning these milestone birthdays and getting so down about it not looking the way they thought it should. And it's like, first of all, I don't even know if they know what they wanted it to look like, but
But it's not this. And that's where the problem lies there, is just with it not being quite this. Now, I'm not sure if we've lost your volume, but I want to hear about something that you've created for the world. Can you say boo for me? No. But what's really cool about what you've created for us, though, I mean, I can toot your horn. I'm more than happy to toot your horn. Now, because you're an expert in all of these retreats, because you're really creating these warm, inclusive spaces where people can explore themselves and get to know one another and feel like they're in a space of belonging. You don't just say boo again.
I think I'm back.
We're
I
back.
I don't know if I bumped it, but it was
That's
red
okay.
for some reason.
Technology can be finicky. So I was just about to say, you don't just do it as a done for you service. You also have some other little helpful tools, resources, and services that people should probably be looking into if they want to take everything they're doing to the next level and create a community um, that matters, that's impactful.
Yeah. Yes, I do have a done for you if you want help hosting your retreat and adding that to your as a branch to your business or dipping your toe into it. But also I have a DIY with you. I don't like when people do it alone. I have a digital course, but I also have office hours, and we do a 90-minute Zoom at the end because I want everybody to hit the ground running. But I just teach you exactly what I've done 22 times, or rinse and repeat sort of method. Share templates and things like that. So I really want everybody to take the overwhelm out of it, because I think retreats are a really, really important space and experience. And I want people to keep doing it. So if there's any way I can help you share your amazing content, then here for it.
I love that. And if they're looking for something that is a little bit more of a, I need to know what this is all about first before I even dive into I'm gonna call it a DIT. Do it together.
I
So
like it.
if they're thinking, oh yeah, I want to do this little DIT thing, but I don't even know the first thing. Well, you can go over to this link here. We've got a QR code, and you'll be able to kind of get the guide version of that, walk yourself through it, and become acquainted with what does this look like anyways.
Yes.
And that's a really great first step. Thank you so much, Anna, for being a part of this show. It's been an absolute joy, and I feel like I've evolved in so many new and interesting ways just through our conversation. The light that you shed on these topics is so real and authentic. And I know that's a buzzword, but it genuinely is. I think I think our viewers here can learn a lot by just entering into your world and saying hello. And to all of you, I strongly suggest you do so. She's an absolute joy. So with that,
Thank you.
I want to tell you all to make sure that you're coming back next week. And if you're thinking, okay, so how can I include more of myself in my marketing without tripping over every step along the way? You need to talk to me. We will figure it out for you. Go to www.shaunaleigh.com, ShaunaLeigh, and contact me. I will welcome you with open arms, and we'll figure out what are the next few steps that you can take in your content and copy to attract more clients and live that lifestyle of freedom that you've always wanted. With that, have a great rest of your day.